This is the story of a movement that began with fire, fury, and the hope of justice, but got entangled in millions of dollars, mismanagement, and betrayal. This is the story of Black Lives Matter and how something so righteous turned into something questionable. Let's go back. It's May 2020. The world stops. We all watch George Floyd's final breath, recorded on a cell phone. His last words, "I can't breathe," became a rallying cry. Protests erupted across the globe, demanding an end to systemic racism, police brutality, and centuries of injustice. It felt like change was finally coming, and at the center of it all was Black Lives Matter.
But the Black Lives Matter bubble didn't actually start with police brutality. It began after the death of Trayvon Martin at the hands of an armed vigilante.
It is the story that no one can stop talking about, the shooting of Trayvon Martin.
On a February evening in 2012 in Sanford, Florida, Neighborhood Watch volunteer George Zimmerman called the police to report a suspicious person.
This guy looks like he's up to no good, or he's on drugs or something. It's raining and he's just walking around looking about.
Okay, and this guy, is he white, black, or Hispanic?
He looks black.
He's told not to approach the person in question.
Are you following him?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need you to do that.
Zimmerman ignored the instructions and started following 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. Moments later, neighbors reported hearing gunfire.
There's gunshots.
You just heard gunshots?
Yes.
How many?
This one.
Zimmerman accepted he shot Martin, claiming self-defense. He wasn't immediately charged. In fact, it took 44 days for him to be arrested, only after national media attention, a petition signed by more than 1 million people, and a public response from the then president.
You know, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. We're going to get to the bottom of exactly what happened.
A year later, Zimmerman was found not guilty of all charges by a jury of 6 women, 5 of them white.
Founded in 2013 after the acquittal of George Zimmerman in the killing of Trayvon Martin, BLM had been around for years. But it was 2020 that made them global. Companies pledged support, celebrities wore their shirts, politicians took a knee, and ordinary people donated by the millions. According to reports, BLM Global Network Foundation raised over $90 million in 2020 alone. $90 million. That's enough to fund legal aid, build community centers, support victims' families, and invest in Black-owned businesses nationwide. But instead, where did that money actually go? That's where things get murky.
New released tax filings show exactly how Black Lives Matter spent their donation money. William Lajeunesse has been digging through it all. What do you have for us, William?
Well, Stuart, here you have an $80 million foundation. Last year they had 0 board meetings and 1 board member. So that's not oversight. But the scrutiny is over use of donor money to hire friends and family. So 3 expenses stand out. BLM gave almost $1 million to Damon Turner, the father of the co-founders, Patrisse Cullors' child, to produce live events. $840,000 went to her brother, Paul, for security. Cullors also admits hiring her mother and sister to work at BLM's LA mansion.
In 2022, it was revealed through IRS filings that the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation, one of the main organizations under the BLM umbrella, had bought a $6 million mansion in Southern California, a 6,500 square foot property with multiple fireplaces, a soundstage, and a pool. When questioned, BLM leaders said it was purchased to be a safe space for Black creators and to host meetings. But the public wasn't buying it. Why is a protest movement buying luxury real estate? And that wasn't all. Patrisse Cullors, one of the co-founders of BLM, had already come under scrutiny for purchasing multiple homes across the U.S. totaling over $3 million. Couleurs later stepped down from the organization, citing the pressure of right-wing attacks. But questions remained unanswered. The group paid hundreds of thousands to companies run by Couleurs' friends and family. One of the biggest payments was nearly $1 million to her brother for security services. Another six-figure sum went to the father of her child for creative services. And all of this, from donor funds meant to fight injustice. Let that sink in.
A frontline organizer, and on the behalf of many activists in the St. Louis area, I'm joined with Mike Brown Sr., the father of Mike Brown Jr. Today, we hold Black Lives Matter accountable. The movement that is catapulted into the limelight has forgotten about Ferguson and the freedom fighters. Freedom fighters like King D. Sears, Edward Crawford, and Danye Jones have literally given their lives to the struggle, but rarely spoken about and families are not taken care of. Brother Ali, Joshua Williams, and many other political prisoners from the Ferguson movement are incarcerated or have been, and still has received no assistance from Black Lives Matter. What kind of movement are we building where we're saying Black Lives Matter, but the freedom fighters and the families are being left behind? Where is our restitution? Where is our organizing? Where is our building of a movement? We have groups like the Lost Voices and the Freedom Fighters here, and thousands of other youth activists in their 20s and 30s have been out in the streets protesting for months and months and years for years. Still forgotten. We're asking that Black Lives Matter leadership funds $20 million to Ferguson organizers, organizations, and community foundations to do the work. We're not begging for a handout. We're coming for what we deserve.
Here's where it gets even more heartbreaking. Several families of the people whose deaths sparked the movement, like Michael Brown and Tamir Rice, publicly called out BLM. Michael Brown's father said they received little to no support from the national organization, despite the millions raised in their son's name. Samaria Rice, Tamir's mother, accused the movement of profiting off her child's death while doing nothing to help the family. They are benefiting off the blood of our loved ones, she said. This is where the line between activism and exploitation starts to blur, because it's one thing to raise awareness. It's another to build an empire off pain. Let's be crystal clear. Black lives do matter. The slogan, the demand, the principle, it's unshakable. But the movement, the actual organization, that's a different story. Because BLM wasn't just a hashtag, it became an institution. And like any institution, it needed structure, transparency, and accountability. Instead, it was operating with millions of dollars and no real oversight. No formal board of directors, no regular audits, no clear plan for where the money was going. This wasn't just bad optics, it was bad business. The state of California threatened legal action over BLM's failure to file required financial documents. Multiple states issued cease and desist letters to stop fundraising until compliance was met. So what we're seeing isn't just chaos, it's a collapse of trust. And here's why this matters more than just one organization. When people feel betrayed by movements like BLM, it creates apathy, it fuels cynicism, it gives ammunition to those who never supported the cause to begin with. It turns a real fight for racial justice into another nonprofit scandal. People stop donating, they stop organizing, they stop believing. The real tragedy isn't just the misused money. It's the millions of people who believed in this movement and now feel abandoned. It's the communities that never saw the resources they were promised. It's the families still waiting for justice while executives fly first class. And worst of all, it overshadows the fact that police brutality still exists, that racism still kills, that America still has a long way to go. Imagine if even half of that $90 million went toward bail funds, school programs, or therapy for victims' families. Imagine if it created jobs, healed trauma, and actually reduced crime in the neighborhoods hit hardest. That's what real justice would look like. In the end, the Black Lives Matter movement reminded us of how powerful we can be when we unite. But its organizational failures remind us of how dangerous it is to place blind trust in people just because they speak our language. It's okay to hold leaders accountable. That is justice. The message matters. The lives matter. But trust, that has to be earned. Because if we don't ask hard questions about our own movements, someone else will. louder, nastier, and without mercy. This isn't just a story about a movement gone wrong. It's a lesson that every movement needs more than passion. It needs purpose, leadership, and most importantly, transparency. Because if we don't demand better from those who represent us, who will?